It is now my honor to introduce an incredible champion for reproductive freedom who can tell all of us firsthand just how committed Vice President Harris is to our futures. Please welcome Maya Harris.
Thank you for adjusting that mic for little short me. Good morning, Nevada. Thank you all for being here. I really want to start by thanking you all for being here, especially for those of you who I know are out there doing work. So I want to thank you for being here and for all that you are doing to bring forward this brighter future that we are all talking about. And then for those of you who are watching, who may yet be deciding on your vote, I'm so glad that you are tuned in and paying attention to this important conversation that we are having here today. I am actually very thrilled to be back here in Nevada, especially as part of our National Freedom, Reproductive Freedom Bus Tour, because as everyone has talked about here, our lives and our futures truly, truly depend on this. And as I was thinking about coming here today, and as I've been making stops on the tour, I think about how I could talk to you as a policy advocate and a veteran of political campaigns about the moment that we're in. I was senior policy advisor for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Or I could talk to you as a lawyer and a civil rights advocate, having led the ACLU of California. Or I could talk to you as a mom of a daughter and a grandma who wants her two granddaughters to have the freedom and the choices that they deserve. But today, I am here to talk to you as a sister. So let me just say a few words about my sister, your vice president, our vice president, Kamala Harris. Many of you have heard Kamala and me talk about our mother and the many lessons that she taught us growing up, one of which that she showed us both through word and deed, the way that we all have so much more in common than what separates us, that we all fundamentally want the same things for our children, for our families, for our communities, for our futures. We fundamentally want the same things. And that what binds us together among all of that, and chief among the things that we want, is simply the freedom to be free, to fulfill our God-given potential. Kamala believes that to her core. It is why she has spent her entire career in public service. It's why her entire life has been about fighting for each of us to have that freedom. And that is especially true when it comes to the freedom to make our own decisions about our health, about our families, about our futures. And it's an issue that she has championed over many, many years, long before we got to this current crisis. And that's because she believes that you, not politicians, and certainly not Donald Trump, should be making those decisions for yourself. And as we've been crisscrossing the country and traveling during this campaign, I have to say I have truly been in awe of all of the women who are courageously sharing their deeply personal stories on this topic, particularly the courage it takes to particularly share your deeply personal story when there are people on the other side who are denying that these things are even happening to women. And among those many courageous voices, I really do want to lift up again Hadley Duvall, who is one of the strongest women I know and has truly become a fierce national leader in the fight for reproductive freedom, and has been tirelessly traveling the country, telling her story, reliving it over and over and over again to make sure that people really understand what is at stake in this election. And Hadley's story is so heartbreaking. And her voice has been so incredibly powerful. And it's heart-wrenching to think, to know, that there are women who will never even be given the chance to share their stories. Women like Amber Nicole Thurman, a healthy 28-year-old mother from Georgia who recently died because of a Trump abortion ban. Amber's mother, Shanette, told Kamala that there's one word that keeps echoing in her head: preventable. Preventable. Can you imagine your daughter dying and the doctors telling you, oh, the death was preventable? So let me tell you that these stories, these women, they stick with Kamala. They make her even more determined, if you can even possibly imagine more determination in Kamala in her fight for reproductive freedom. And then, of course, there is Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. I can't say that up here. Two men who think they're more qualified than women to make decisions about our health, our families, and our futures. And I know you saw him at the debate when he refused to say he'd veto a national abortion ban and instead doubled down on his pride at being singularly responsible for overturning Roe. He wants all the credit for that. And then, as has been mentioned this morning, at his so-called town hall on women's issues, calling himself the father of IVF. And oh my God, at the debate, did you see that he called himself a leader in fertilization? Now, calling himself a leader on these issues, yet his handpicked running mate, J.D. Vance, failed to support the Senate bill to protect IVF when he had an opportunity to do so in recent weeks. And his own GOP platform could ban IVF nationwide. So I think it's very important to understand the full range of issues encompassed in this conversation, in this crisis, in this tragedy around reproductive freedom. Because yes, it's about abortion, but it's also about being able to deliver a healthy baby and survive childbirth. It's about to make a choice about how to grow your family. These are the array of issues that are encompassed just in the fight for reproductive freedom. And if you think that people are going to be ready to take your reproductive freedom, you got to start thinking about the other freedoms that may be down the line. But on this topic of reproductive freedom, we have to be clear that Trump and Vance, they can say whatever they want, but it is clear that they simply don't trust women and they cannot be trusted. But here is the good news. Every single time that this issue has been put directly to the voters, every single time, the people have resoundingly chosen freedom. Resoundingly. So what we need to be clear about is we are the majority. We're the majority. And that's why we're here on this bus crisscrossing the country, to make sure voters everywhere truly understand the stakes of this election, yes, but to make sure that we're engaged and activated. Because we have the power and we need to rise up and use it, because our freedoms are most certainly on the ballot. So I just want to close by reminding you, this race is very, very close. This race is very, very close. Don't pay attention to the polls. We need to just keep working. The race is very, very close, and Kamala is the underdog in this race. It is going to take all of us to get over the finish line. And what does that mean for it to take all of us to get over the finish line? When you talk about the small margins of victory that we're talking about, your work, your individual work could be the margin of victory in your neighborhood. Your collective work here can and could most certainly win this entire election, especially when we know that the road to the White House is running right through this state. And so I loved Liza, invoking Michelle Obama, because I love seeing Michelle Obama on the convention stage echoing another one of our mother's lessons. Don't wait to be asked, go do something. Yep. So today I'm adding, for the next 20 days, it's not enough to just do something. We need to do everything that we can. Knock doors, make phone calls, organize your neighbors, because that is how we're going to protect freedoms. That is how we're going to build a brighter future. That is how we're going to pass question 6. That is how we're going to elect these women up and down the ballot in Nevada, and other Democrats up and down the ballot in Nevada too. And that is most certainly how we are going to elect Kamala Harris, the next president of the United States. So now it is my honor to introduce a fabulous, talented actress and director, Elizabeth Banks.